People keep asking me, why do the young people care about it? And I says, I think they are recognizing they're getting a bad deal. What are they getting? A lot of debt they're inheriting, a lot less freedom than previous generations have had, and also they end up graduating from college and they're having trouble getting jobs, and they wonder why. Well, there's reasons for it. Believe me, it has to do with the economic and the political system that has been corrupted and has to be changed. Just think of all the problems we've had since World War II with the excess of war and the absence of peace, mainly because they have done one thing. We have had men and women in presidency and Congress who have not followed the rule of law, and the rule of law says you can't go to war without a declaration of war. Then, of course, if we'd have followed the founders' advice and minded our own business and not told other countries how to live, maybe we would have more friends around the world rather than enemies around the world. You know, it's been said that you don't have to wait until you have a majority. Majorities are never what moves the country. People who are determined and have beliefs, strong beliefs, and ideas move the world. Ideas do have consequences. But you need a small group of people that are irate and tireless and will work and spread the brush fires of liberty in the minds of men. That is what we need today, and that is what's happening, fortunately, for us. It isn't so much that the two parties have different philosophies, but they have different special interests, and they have different desires to hold power. So the whole effort is to have power and pay off the lobbyists who have the most interest, but there's not going to be a solution. What we need today is a coalition of people who believe in liberty for various reasons. We need to bring people together with these ideas. Guess what happened after the bubble burst? The people who had been making the billions, who branched off into derivatives, the banks and the Fannie Mae's and the Freddie Macs and all those people who were making millions and billions of dollars, they screamed and hollered, there's going to be a depression, there's going to be a depression, you got to bail us out, we're too big to fail. So the politicians rushed, yeah, we got to bail them out, we got to bail them out. And guess what happened? They got bailed out. So the entitlements went to the wealthy who had already been making money. And what happened to the people who had in the middle class? The middle class people lost their jobs and they lost their houses. So it doesn't work. And this is what we have to accept. This is not a good system. When the president announces that he's going to assassinate American citizens, how are we going to compromise on that? Just assassinate a few at a time? Or what? I would say there is no compromise. Presidents have no authority to direct an assassination of an American citizen on where he is or what he's been charged with. What about the recent National Defense Authorization Act? That now the military can arrest an American citizen under suspect of being associated with some group that might be doing something someday. And he can be arrested by the military, put in a secret prison, denied an attorney, and kept indefinitely. There's no way you should compromise with that. That's a clear principle you should stand opposed to. You should stand for the cause of liberty and against that. Secretary of Defense the other day on national television was being interviewed, and he was asked about where he got the authority. He didn't come to Congress for the authority to go into Libya and a proposal to go into Syria, which they actually are already there. He said, well, he got he'll get it from an international body. He'll get it from the United Nations or NATO. And it is because of our careless regard for the rule of law that has led us into so many of these things, whether it's the economic problems we have, the monetary policy, the welfare state, or the international crisis that we have. But it's coming to an end. It's going to come to an end for financial reason. It's going to give us an opportunity, just as they saw it an opportunity to see a crisis come, to expand the role of government. We're going to see this as an opportunity to shrink the size of government is what we need to do. After 9/11, of course, we went into Iraq, but also within days, the very first major piece of legislation was passed, was that most onerous piece of legislation called the Patriot Act. As you might guess, I voted against the Patriot Act. And now I'd like to repeal the Patriot Act. But when the bill comes up to repeal the Patriot Act, I won't call it a bill to repeal the Patriot Act. I'm going to call it a bill to restore the Fourth Amendment. No searches without warrants, and no invading our houses with the military, and on and on. The very things the founders of this country fought for and fought a revolution. Now we are deliberately and casually taking it away from the American people. This is what this is all about. Are we going to put up with this? I think symbolically, if we can watch TV and the pictures on the internet to show what TSA is doing to make us safe and secure, and watch the prodding and the probing and the x-raying of little kids and elderly women and wheelchairs, if we can sit by and say, oh, they're making us safe, so we're okay. If we put up with that, I don't think there's a whole lot of hope for us. And it was very clear to the founders. They said, if you sacrifice your liberties for a little bit more security, you end up with neither the safety or the security or our liberties. I'm afraid that's where we're going. Unless we reverse this, we have to reverse the trend. The Federal Reserve, of course, was established the same year we had the income tax. Major changes occurred during the Wilson administration, the progressive era. The monetary policy changed, the tax policy changed, and also the foreign policy changed. It was Wilson who said, let's make the world safe for democracy. It was all this, idealism. Always wonderful things. We're going to do this for idealistic reason. This is there's a writer now that has coined the word neo-Jacobinism. And it is in many ways, and this is what we're doing around the world. It's always in the best interest. I reduce all this stuff to intervention. I want to have a government that's non-interventionist. Non-interventionist overseas, non-interventionist in your personal life, and non-interventionist in our economic lives as well. On January 1st this year, a lot of new laws came into existence. Just a small number, 40,000 new laws on January 1st. As if that is our problem, that we don't have enough laws. I would like to be the first president to get rid of 40,000 laws in 1 year. And I think I'd start with some of the drug laws that exist in this country. We have 5% of the population. We have 25% of the prisoners of the whole world. I don't think the Americans are that. I don't think we're that bad people. I don't believe we are. I think if it's a victimless crime because it's a bad habit, they don't need to be in prison. Maybe we ought to think about treating people who are taking too many drugs as we treat people that take too much alcohol. Maybe they ought to be treated like patients rather than criminals. But of course, we've had our chance. We've had the compassionate conservatives in charge for a few years, and out of compassion, they said, well, the federal law always overrules state law. So if a state law gets passed that says that sick people can raise their own marijuana and take care of their own problems and not hurt anybody else, and the law says this, the state and the federal government comes in and overrules this and actually arrests people that are sick, and so this makes no sense whatsoever. Drugs are dangerous and bad. Prescription drugs are a lot more dangerous than the illegal drugs because you have more addiction with them. But we need to reassess things. Who's responsible? Who's responsible for our lives? I'd like to think you should be responsible for all your own money. If you have a right to your life and a right to your liberty, you ought to have a right to keep the fruits of your labor, all of it. So the government shouldn't tell you how to spend your money. But if it's your life and you own your own body, if we allow Americans, as we have traditionally, we allow people to deal with their spiritual life, deal with their hereafter, that's a rather serious subject. We allow people to read some of the worst type of philosophies, all kinds of things that have killed so many of communism. Just think of the deaths under communism. We're still allowed to read these philosophies. But when it comes to our own bodies, we have to get permission from the government on what what they can do and we can put into our own bodies. But the responsibility should be on us. I mean, this doesn't mean that people won't make mistakes, but when the federal government makes a mistake and does harm, it hurts everybody. This is the reason that freedom is so much better. Governments assume that they can be the nanny state and take care of us and that they can protect us from ourselves, which they cannot. But when they make a mistake, it's very, very bad because they do not know what is best for you. They do not know how you should spend your money. You do, and if you make your own mistake, you have to suffer the consequences. But if we understand the whole concept of liberty, this means that people should come together because everybody's going to use their liberty differently. Everybody has different social values. Everybody has different religious values. And the books you read are going to be different. And we should recognize that. And to a degree, we do. But then we limit it. And some people say, well, if we give them too much freedom, they're going to have some bad habits and they're not going to be good, which may be true. But do you want the government to make those decisions, or do you want the individual to make decisions? And the way other people say, well, if we give them too much economic liberty, they're going to waste their money and they're going to do these things. They won't take care of themselves. But I tell you what, if you understand this whole issue, we should be able to bring people together. And this is why so often we see diversity in this. It's not because we agree on how we should run our lives, but we agree that we should have the right to run our lives and spend our own money. I was drafted in 1962. It was when the Cold War was getting pretty hot. That was when the missiles were in Cuba, a slightly different set of circumstances. But then I was in for a total of 5 years, but also the Vietnam War was going on at that period of time. But the French had been in there for approximately 10 years, and we were there for about 10 years. Probably close to, it's been estimated up to 1 million Vietnamese had died. We lost 60,000 plus many, many wounded and many who were sick for a long time afterwards. So finally they said, well, we can't lose because there will be a domino effect and the whole world will be engulfed by communism. Well, if they had listened to Mises says communism can't work because it's non-viable, and it is true. The Soviet system fell apart, the Chinese became our bankers, and now we're trading partners with the Vietnamese. So we go back and forth in Vietnam. We invest over there, and they come over here, and things are going much better. So just think for a minute, what was achieved in peace that wasn't achieved in 20 years of killing? When are we going to wake up and say that war is not the answer? Freedom to me is an attractive idea because I think what we should strive for in our personal lives is excellence and virtue. This would be a personal goal that we have. But true happiness, I think, comes from being productive and taking care of ourselves. When other people take care of oneself or they live off other people, either through the political system, I don't think they have the true satisfaction. And some people who have wealth that feel like they didn't get it fairly end up with a lot of guilt. But I think the true sense of happiness is when people take care of themselves and feel good about it. And you can't do that in a slave system. You can't do this when the government's running everything. And this is why not only gives you the greatest prosperity, I think it would give us the greatest sense of satisfaction to have a system that encourages self-reliance. And we had it before. We've tried it. People did benefit by this. But now we think that what we have to do is keep running to the government and having the government tell us what to do all the time. It hasn't been working very well. So I think what we have to do is restate our conviction and make it loud and clear. We need policies that are designed to bring peace in the world, designed to have sound economic theories, and designed to take care of our civil liberties and allow us to run our own lives as we so choose. Unfortunately, today what drives our politics are the politicians and the lobbyists, and they're driven by power. Power is what they seek, and some of them get satisfaction. There's always going to be some in society who get their whole sense of life by having power over other people. And I guess we'll always have to put up with that. But I'm convinced that the only way you can answer that is with a better idea, understanding what liberty can bring to us, and also prevent the people who think that they can control the whole world by just having more lobbyists. Now, a lot of people think the solution for this is just outlaw lobbying. I don't think it's that simple. I think you have to outlaw the system. As long as the government is auctioning off stolen goods from the people, you're always going to have lobbyists trying to get in there and get their benefits, the benefits of the regulations and the taxes program. But if government is small in protecting our liberties, you're not going to have that problem. But right now, it is a struggle for power. And this is why we don't see a whole lot of difference, if any, between the two political parties. Yes, the rhetoric is different. Some is a little bit better on some issues than the other. But there's really not a whole lot of difference. It's overpower is what they do. But what we want is control of our lives. What we want is to once again have a society that we can be proud of. Once that we can say, this is the way that we can achieve peace and prosperity, is through a philosophy that we had been introduced to, but we have forgotten. And yet it is something that has been around for a long time. But we have to reverse a lot of things. We'd have to reverse the whole ideas of monetary policy, the foreign policy. We have to reverse this idea that you can write laws by the executive branch and that they can write executive orders and tell people what they can do with total disregard of the Constitution. So this is available to us, and we will have to make a choice. Some people say, well, this is the election, now do or die, this is it. Well, I don't think one election is end all. I think some of these changes are going to come about. I don't think there is any way that they can stop the ideas of liberty as they're boiling out today. There's a big understanding now of the need for this, the need for a different viewpoint, and we don't want it, we don't want more tyranny. We want less. And we know what is there, and it's available. And where I go, and I go to many campuses and around the country, and believe me, these ideas are alive and well, and they're growing. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited when I come to a group like this. It's an enthusiasm that you have, but every one of us has a responsibility. And a lot of people, after I speak, they'll come and say, okay, tell me what I have to do. And you know what I tell them? Do whatever you want to do. And everybody has a role to play. Once, if you accept basically what I'm talking about, you have more responsibility than those who never look at these. So most people never pay much attention. So you're in a small minority of people who care about what's going on and care about political ideas and economic ideas. But if you come to these conclusions that liberty is better than tyranny and you believe in it, there's more responsibility falling on your shoulders. But it's not only like a sacrifice, it's a responsibility. Well, you know what is best for you, you know what is best for your family, you know what is best for your community. And besides, you should get some satisfaction from doing this. One thing, though, is that if you look at only the problems, you can get pretty despondent and say, oh, tomorrow the world's coming to an end. There's going to be more war and more depression. But there are a lot of like-minded people out there. There's a lot of like-minded people in an audience like this. And coming together and working for a cause, you can have a lot of fun doing this too, because you don't know exactly what will come tomorrow. Nobody knows that. But if you know what is right and you believe in it and working for it can give you a lot of satisfaction. So I think the cause of liberty and the cause of peace is worth fighting for. There's every reason in the world to believe that we can restore the greatness of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.